Ancient wisdom greets you all. Today, we will explore how strong one's inner self must be to no longer care about others' opinions. Be sure to watch until the end, as this might help you become more optimistic from now on. Number 1. Knowing how to hide. In the past, Zhenping left Zhuangzi to join Liu Bang. While crossing a river on a small boat, Zhenping noticed the boatman glancing at him with malicious eyes, clearly plotting to rob and kill him. Immediately, Zhenping stood up, took off his coat, and said, "It's so hot today, I should have worn less." Then, he approached the boatman and said, "Brother, you've been rowing for a while, take a rest and have some water. Let me row for you." These two sentences saved Zhenping from disaster. Think about it, why did Zhenping take off his coat? To show the boatman that he had nothing valuable, and he was even willing to help. Killing him would bring no benefit. In work, when you're not strong enough and colleagues target you, lower your profile and hide your sharpness. Find an opportunity to invite them for a meal, share your struggles, and express your desire for their guidance. If you do this, will they still bully you? If you show off your beauty, you'll be exploited by the lustful. If you show off your wealth, you'll be harmed by the greedy. If you show off your sincerity, you'll be trampled by the wicked. In this turbulent world, learning to hide is not only a sign of self-awareness but also a way to protect yourself. Life has 3 layers. First layer, words. It takes 3 years to learn to speak but a lifetime to learn to be silent. Speak less so your careless words don't become excuses for those with ill intentions. Second layer, strength. Everyone has their own energy field. Know when to reveal and when to restrain. Only by accumulating and recovering can you unleash your best strength when needed. Third layer, mind. Don't expose all your thoughts. Focus on your main goal and don't waste time on irrelevant matters. Han Xin, after becoming a great general, was once asked by Liu Bang, "If I were a general, how many soldiers could I command?" Han Xin replied, "At most 100,000. Liu Bang then asked, "And how many can you command?" Han Xin confidently answered, "The more, the better." Liu Bang was furious, but Han Xin was arrogant. Han Xin might be better at warfare, but he forgot that his success was due to Liu Bang's trust. This arrogance sowed the seeds for his tragic end. Sima Yi, despite being distrusted by 3 generations of the Cao family and having his power seized by Cao Shuang, chose to bide his time. For 10 years, he feigned illness and hid his intentions. When Cao Shuang left the city to visit the royal tomb, Sima Yi seized control of the capital and overthrew Cao Shuang, taking power. When Cao Shuang was executed, he said to Sima Yi, "You've won. In one day, you've taken what the Cao family built over generations." Sima Yi replied, "I only swung my sword once, but I've been sharpening it for over 10 years. This is what your ancestor, Cao Cao, taught me. True success is when you don't need to say much, just let others see the results. Before success, control your desire to show off. Secrecy brings success, while exposure leads to failure." During the Qing dynasty, a wealthy merchant, to avoid war, converted all his assets into banknotes and hid them in the handle of an umbrella. He disguised himself as a poor man and returned to his hometown. Tired from the long journey, he rested under a tree. When he woke up, the umbrella was gone. Panicked, he searched but found nothing. Realizing the thief might be a passerby, he decided to stay and opened an umbrella repair shop. A year later, a man brought an old umbrella to exchange for a new one. Recognizing it, the merchant exchanged it and left that night, disappearing without a trace. Learning to stay calm is a valuable asset. Calmness helps us understand that anxiety is useless and can make things worse. Calmness helps us stand firm and minimize losses. If you can't control your impulses, they will control you. In the 3 Kingdoms, Zhuge Liang tried to provoke Sima Yi into battle by sending him women's clothes, mocking his cowardice. Sima Yi, instead of getting angry, wore the clothes and thanked Zhuge Liang. Zhuge Liang, overworked, died at Wushang Plains, and the Shu army retreated without a fight. The ability to control emotions determines one's strength. Those who get angry easily are not wise. Masters focus on solving problems. Uncontrolled emotions only create more trouble. Number 3. Knowing how to filter. Famous scholar Yu Kuiyu was once invited to a documentary but faced criticism for self-promotion. Facing malicious attacks, Yu calmly replied, "A galloping horse doesn't stop to wash off mud. No matter how you live, there will always be people who dislike you. When malice and slander come, we can't stop them, but we can keep them at bay. By filtering out useless information, we can use every moment for meaningful things." As someone once said, in life, there are very few things worth caring about. People live over 30,000 days, and whether it's praise or criticism, it's not as important as we think. Learning to filter noise helps build a strong inner self and take control of life. In France, a young man passionate about painting lost both arms in an accident. Despite ridicule, he used his feet to paint and eventually became the famous painter Antonio Datilo Rubo. Facing disdain, Antonio chose to ignore negative voices, focus on his dream, and achieved his goal. This reminds us of Nick Vujicic, born without limbs, who pursued his dreams despite ridicule and rejection. If we care too much about others' negative opinions, we may doubt ourselves, lose confidence, and fail to achieve what we could have. When negative thoughts dominate, it's like driving with the brakes on. Nietzsche once said, "The ability to filter is the source of all great wisdom." Those who know how to filter find happiness, while others suffer. Number 4. Knowing how to accept everything. A master living in seclusion for decades finally achieved enlightenment. When asked how to move a mountain with divine power, the master replied, "It's simple. If the mountain doesn't come to you, you go to the mountain." A small change can bring desired results. In life, many obstacles are like mountains. But if you're willing to change, many problems become clear. In the movie Chinese Partners, there's a line, "The biggest liar is ourselves," because we always want to change others but refuse to change ourselves. Life often makes us disagree with others and try to correct their opinions or feel annoyed by their actions and want them to follow our ways. But in the end, the only thing we can change is ourselves. Change what you can, accept what you can't, and tolerate differences. Don't try to change anyone anymore. A man crossing a river shouted at an approaching boat but got no response. Angry, he cursed the boatman, only to realize the boat was empty. His anger vanished. This is the empty boat effect, originating from Zhuangzi's story. In daily life, 10% of what happens to us comes from the event itself, while 90% depends on our attitude. The empty boat effect is essentially a matter of mindset. When you're focused on something and someone disturbs you from behind, you can't help but feel annoyed. But when you turn around and see it's just a child, you might think, "It's just a kid," and your anger disappears. Many people, when facing unpleasant events, often complain, "Why am I so unlucky? Why do these things happen to me?" When we were young, forgetting homework seemed like a big deal. In high school, failing college entrance exams seemed like a big deal. In love, breaking up with someone we liked seemed like a big deal. But looking back, the mountains we thought we couldn't cross were actually crossed long ago. Things we once thought we couldn't accept were eventually accepted with time. Money lost can be earned again. Jobs lost can be found again. Friends lost can be made again. Love lost can be found again. True strength is not forgetting but accepting. Accept loneliness, failure, and feelings of helplessness. Just stay calm, do what you need to do, and walk the path you must. Life is short, with no perfect answers or perfect lives. Let things unfold. Number 5. Living with goals. When life feels meaningless, listen to this story. One day, a 70-year-old blind man and a 17-year-old blind boy were on the road with a 3-stringed instrument, living by playing and telling stories. The old man told the boy, "My teacher, who was also your teacher, played the instrument all his life but never broke 1,000 strings. He mistakenly remembered 1000 as 800. My teacher said if you break 1000 strings, you can get a medicine to cure blindness. Drink it, and your eyes will see again. The old man believed this and played diligently all his life. Now, nearing 1000 broken strings, he eagerly awaited the day he could see the world. After 50 years, he finally broke 1000 strings. But when he sought the medicine, he found it was just a blank paper. His hope shattered, he spent all his savings. But then he thought of the young boy, his student, who was still young. So, he returned and told the boy, "You must play well and break 1200 strings to get the medicine." My teacher was wrong, it's 1200, not 1000. He knew it was a lie, but he wanted to give the boy a goal, a hope. Goals may be fictional, but they are necessary. Without goals, the strings won't be taut, and no sound will be produced. In life, people need goals. These goals often give life meaning. As long as people find meaning in life, they can endure any suffering. The meaning of life must be sought by oneself. Don't fear that efforts will be in vain, as we are born with nothing. So, what is there to lose? Tani, a famous Japanese marathon runner, won 2 world championships in 1984 and 1987. When asked about his secret, he always replied, "I use wisdom to defeat my opponents." In reality, marathons are mainly about physical endurance, with speed and technique being secondary. His answer made many think he was just seeking attention. 10 years later, in his autobiography, he revealed that before each race, he would drive the course and mark landmarks. For example, the first landmark was a bank, the second a uniquely shaped tree, and the third a tall building. He continued this until the end of the course. During the race, he would sprint to the first landmark, then to the second, and so on. This way, the 40+ km journey was divided into smaller goals, making the marathon much easier. Initially, he aimed for the finish line flag, but after 10 kilometers, he was exhausted by the distance. When setting goals, people need a final goal but also clear smaller goals to build confidence. Number 6. Knowing how to feel happiness. Once, a kind-hearted scholar became an angel after death. As an angel, he often descended to help people, hoping to bring them happiness. One day, he met a farmer crying in the field because his ox had died. The farmer said, "My ox is dead, and no one can help me plow the field. I can't continue working." The angel gave the farmer an old ox. The farmer was happy, and the angel saw joy on his face. Another time, the angel met a man cheated of his money on his way home. The angel gave him some money and again felt the man's happiness. Then, the angel met a poet. The poet was handsome, wealthy, with a beautiful wife. But the angel saw sadness on the poet's face. The angel asked, "Why aren't you happy?" The poet replied, "I have everything I want, but I lack one thing. Can you give it to me?" The angel said, "Tell me, and I will." The poet said, "What I lack is happiness." This puzzled the angel. After thinking, the angel decided to take everything from the poet. He took his wealth, talent, even his wife's life, and ruined the poet's appearance. Then, the angel left. A month later, the angel returned to find the poet as a beggar on the street, babbling, starving, and lifeless. The angel returned everything to the poet. Half a month later, the poet hugged his wife, endlessly grateful for finding happiness. Happiness has no fixed standard. Whether you feel happy depends on your perspective. Happiness is not far away, it lies within your heart. There's a question, here's a rope. If you can't cut it, how do you make it shorter? A wise man answered, draw a longer rope next to it. The original rope will automatically be defined as short. If you weigh 60 kilograms but compare yourself to someone who weighs 40 kilograms, you'll be called fat. If you earn 2 million a month but compare yourself to someone who spends 20 million a month, you'll be considered poor. Don't always compare yourself to others. Be yourself. What others have, you may not, but what you have, They may not. People often envy each other because they don't understand each other's pain. Educator Zhuangzi once said, after a heavy rain, there are two types of people. One looks up at the sky and sees the blue, beautiful sky. The other looks down at the ground and sees only despair and mud. The success or failure of an event depends on your attitude. To build a strong inner self, don't blindly compare. Have the ability to let go. Number 7. Knowing how to let go. Mo Yan, in a speech, recounted the most painful memory of his childhood. As a child, he followed his mother to the field to pick up leftover grains after harvest. Unfortunately, they were caught by the field guard. Others ran away, but his mother, with small feet, couldn't run fast and was caught. The guard slapped her hard, making her fall to the ground, bleeding from the mouth. The guard confiscated all the grains they had picked and left, leaving little Mo Yan in panic and his mother in despair. Years later, Mo Yan met the field guard at the market. Now an old man with white hair, Mo Yan remembered the old grudge and wanted to beat him for revenge. But his mother stopped him. She calmly said, "Son, the man who hit me back then is not this old man." One must admire the understanding and tolerance of Mo Yan's mother. Past events become history, and grudges should fade with time. If you keep holding on to enemies, you'll fall into the Hercules effect. Hatred is like the airbag Hercules encountered. If you keep confronting it, it will inflate and resist you to the end. But if you let go and avoid it, it will shrink back to its original size. In 2023, the Nobel Prize in Literature was announced, and once again, Japanese author Haruki Murakami was left empty-handed. This was the 18th year he was considered a strong candidate but didn't win. For a professional writer, the Nobel Prize in Literature is the highest recognition. But Murakami wasn't too sad or stuck in regret. He didn't see winning the Nobel as the only way to affirm his life's value. He returned to his daily life, running, traveling, taking photos, writing books, and maintaining a pace of releasing a new book each year. As he wrote in What I Talk About When I Talk About Running, "Whether I win or lose against others, I don't care. I only care if I meet the standards I set for myself." Cartoonist Jimmy once said, "Don't dwell too long on things that make you uncomfortable. Dwelling too long, you'll feel annoyed, tired, mentally drained, and heartbroken. In the end, it's not that you can't let go of the past, but that you can't forgive yourself. Life is about living for the present and future, not dwelling in the past." Those who live lightly and comfortably mostly have the ability to let go of the past, not dwell on it, and not make things hard for themselves. Yesterday, whether good or bad, has passed. Focus your energy on today and look forward to a brighter tomorrow. Number 8. Knowing how to choose or strive. Once, 3 men were imprisoned for 3 years. The jailer said he would grant each one request. The romantic Frenchman asked for a beautiful woman. The American, who loved cigars, asked for 5 boxes of cigars. The Jew asked for a telephone to contact the outside world. 3 years later, the first to come out was the American. His mouth and nose were stuffed with cigars, and he shouted, "Give me a light. Give me a light." It turned out he forgot to ask for a lighter. The second was the Frenchman, carrying a child, with the woman holding another and pregnant with a third. Finally, the Jew came out, shook the jailer's hand firmly, and said, "Over the past 3 years, I've used the telephone to contact the outside world every day. My business not only continued but grew by 300%. To thank you, I want to give you a car." Today's life is the result of choices made 3 years ago, and today's choices will shape our lives 3 years from now. People often say choices are more important than effort. If you choose the wrong direction, all efforts are futile. But without effort, you might not even have the chance to choose. We study and work hard to have better choices in life, to choose better partners, and to have better opportunities. Without accumulated achievements, there are no opportunities to choose. Every effort now lays the foundation for future choices. I once heard a special story about self-change. A man, after failing the college entrance exam, had to do manual labor to make a living. He worked as a porter and a printer, jobs that were hard and paid little, and he was often scolded. After experiencing life's hardships, he decided to change his situation. With his first month's salary, he enrolled in a college preparatory program. No matter how busy or tired he was, he always attended class on time. Finally, heaven rewarded his efforts. After 2 years of diligent study, he earned a degree in literature from a teacher's college. With this degree, he became a journalist, the job he always dreamed of. Later, all his efforts paid off. From a reporter, he became a veteran journalist for late-night broadcasts, then hosted famous programs. Eventually become a famous MC. Someone once said, "You can only choose better things when you try your best and do better than others in your job position." In other words, if you don't try, you won't have a choice. Without ability, the best choices will be meaningless. Sometimes, a choice can really change the direction of your life. But these opportunities are created from our own efforts. Without the accumulation of knowledge and experience from before, even the right choices will become wrong. Choosing is a process of self-regeneration, helping us to constantly grow and improve. Directed efforts will help us not get lost. Choices accompanied by actions will not only be in theory. Human life cannot go on two paths at the same time.